Welcome to FailCraft, the podcast where we dive into the messy, real side of success and explore how setbacks become just stepping stones to growth and clarity. I'm your host, Ezekiel Iferia, and today's guest is Chris Shurian. He has lived about 9 lives in the span of one. He has built a $15 million construction company, developed resorts, and founded restaurants. He has been a finalist for Entrepreneur of the Year. But Chris doesn't talk about the trophies. He talks about the battle scars. He openly admits that in his 39 years of business, he hasn't just built companies, he has broken them, lost them, and resurrected them. He is a cancer survivor and a two-time Ironman finisher who believes that most entrepreneurs are walking around wearing armor to hide the fact that they are terrified. He is here to talk about the danger of pretending to be invincible, the reality of a midlife faith transition, and how to keep going when your business and your body tries to quit on you. So, Chris, I am truly honored to welcome you to FailCraft. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Ezekiel. That was a very nice introduction. I appreciate that.
Great to have you here. Let's get things started. Chris, your bio has a line that you know, has me that spiked my interest. You say you have built, operated, bought, and broken, and even resurrected companies. Most people might try to hide the fact that they broke a company. So, can you tell us about, a specific time you broke one? So, how did it happen, and what was the outcome?
Yeah. Well, Ezekiel, I don't mind talking about some of the challenges I've had over my career because I feel like I learned a lot from them.
Mm,
And every time I've had some sort of a tough, experience or a failure or a a bad day, I always take away something from that hopefully will prevent me from having those bad days in the future. And so, there's one company that I was involved in, one business that it was really a fun business. I enjoyed it. I liked the potential of it. I jumped into it probably a little prematurely. And the problem is that as I look back at why it failed, because it did fail. The mistakes I made are partially to blame for why we had a failure. I mean, I can look at, if I really wanted to, I could look at outside forces. I could look at things that happened that really put a strain on the business. But ultimately, it comes down to me. Ultimately, the buck stops here, and I'm the guy that makes the decisions. And I made some decisions that weren't very smart, and so we failed. We had some terrible failure. It cost me a lot of money. It cost me a lot of stress. It cost me a lot of heartache. But what did I learn from that? What was my takeaway? And in this particular circumstance, I selected some people to work for me that were not qualified to do the job, to do the work. I liked them. They were friends. We had a good relationship, but I chose that friendship and that relationship over their skill set. And it was that was a very big turning point in the challenges we had with the project. I knew they weren't qualified. My gut told me they weren't qualified, but I made that decision anyways, and I ignored my gut. And the lesson learned is you can't ignore those feelings. You can't ignore when your gut is saying, don't do this. Because usually every time I ignore it and do something different, it gets me in trouble. It gets me in trouble. And so in that particular business, that's exactly what happened. I made some bad decisions. I let some people do some work that weren't qualified, which caused delays, which caused other problems. And at the end of the day, I didn't have enough. By the time I got back in and tried to fix it, it was too late. And man, it hurt. It hurt a lot, but I did learn. I learned tons from that.
Hey, Chris, thank you very much for sharing that with us. So, you talk a lot about, dropping the armor. So why do entrepreneurs feel the need to look successful, even when they might be drowning? Is that Is that fake it till you make it mentality actually killing them?
Well, great question, Ezekiel. I'm glad you pointed that out. I think a lot of times there's two things. One is you fake it till you make it. I think there's a lot to be said for that. I think there's a lot of positive that comes from that because when you're the leader of a company, if you're the entrepreneur, the founder, the CEO, whoever's leading, you have people underneath you that are looking to you for guidance, and they're looking to you for strength, and they're looking to you to keep people motivated and to keep them feeling good about where you're going. So as a leader, we have to put on a little bit of a thick coat of armor, and we have to put on kind of a show because we want to make sure that all the people underneath us are motivated and feel safe and feel like they have the ability to move on. And so I think that's something we do. I think it's something we do naturally as a leader, as an entrepreneur, especially as a business founder. And that's part of, fake it till you make it. So I like that you use that term because I think it's a very important term that sometimes you have to do that. And sometimes there's a lot of positive that comes from it. But also there's a danger in that you can get burned out. A lot of successful people and a lot of leaders still need to have an outlet of sorts. They still need to have someone they can talk to when things are really stressful, whether they're really good or really bad. A leader of a company doesn't have someone to talk to. They can't talk to their employees about it. They can't talk to their partners about it. Sometimes they can't talk to their spouse about it. They can't talk to their investors about it. So I think it's really important that entrepreneurs have a place, whether it's a person, an organization, some sort of mastermind group, they need to have a safe place where they can share some of the issues they're dealing with. One of the platforms that I'm involved in right now is Founders Exchange. And
Hmm.
the whole idea behind Founders Exchange is creating a group of peers that can get together, and we create a very safe environment, and they can share some of the challenges and some of the issues they're having. Um, and that's one of those places where, a leader can come in, they can let down their armor for a minute, and they can share the things that are on their mind, the things that are weighing them down, the things that are causing them anxiety. And also that works the other way too, Ezekiel. Sometimes there's leaders who have great success. They make a lot of money, they have a lot of success. And also it's hard to talk to people about that as well. And so that group that we are working in right now called Founders Exchange is that safe space for leaders, entrepreneurs, and founders and CEOs to be able to come to, let their armor down and talk and have someone to talk to and have someone to listen. And then, they can also provide that for the other people in the room by listening and sharing their experiences that might provide some sort of assistance to the person that's sharing. I think there's danger in keeping that armor up too long. It sometimes can be dangerous, and so it's important to let it down and have somebody or some place where they can be raw and just talk and share. So yeah, fake it till you make it. That's good, but be careful. You also have to have an outlet.
Okay, okay. So you survived cancer and also completed two Ironmans. Usually, cancer makes people afraid of their bodies, but on the other hand, Ironman, requires mastering the body. So, did training for 140-mile race help you trust your body again after it had failed you with the diagnosis?
Yeah, I like how I like you tied those two together actually, because the Ironman did happen before the cancer, and Ironman, yeah, and so the Ironman training prepared me mentally. It made me much stronger mentally, and it taught me that I can overcome hard things and I could do hard things. And even though there's times when I didn't think I could do it, uh, training for an Ironman and completing an Ironman, your mind is changed completely. And so, what your observation there is spot on, is that having done that and having trained my mind that I can get through anything, I was already a very optimistic person. I was already a very persistent person, but going through the Ironman experience probably made me more optimistic and made my persistence even stronger. And so when I was diagnosed with cancer, I was fortunate enough that I caught the diagnosis early. So I knew early on when that I had it, and I never once felt like it was going to defeat me. I never once felt like I was going to lose my battle with cancer. I came into it with this very strong mindset that I was going to beat it, and I did. I went through the treatment. I came out. The treatment was successful, and that. I finished up my treatment about 8 years ago. And I've been tested. I go into the doctor every 6 months and I'm still clean. And so I feel like I've overcome it and I beat it. And so, yes, your connection between Ironman training and having a cancer diagnosis is very spot on. I appreciate you doing that. In fact, you're the first person to actually tie those together like that. I think that was really awesome how you did that. But yeah, it absolutely helped. Absolutely. That Ironman training absolutely helped me get through the cancer 100%.
All right, all right. Thank you very much for that very amazing response, Chris. So you mentioned leaving a religious community after 25 years. So that's a massive shift in identity, similar to leaving a company you founded. So did you believe, or rather, did you feel a sense of loss or failure during that transition?
I did not. For me, being part of that religion for 25 years was a blessing. I learned a
Mm.
lot. I grew a lot. I am very grateful for those 25 years that I spent in that religion. And so, but then I felt like for me, it was an opportunity for me to transition into a different way of living my life. I'm still a very religious person. I still believe in God. I still believe in all those things that I learned while I was very involved in that religion, but now just in a different way. And, uh, and so for me, that was a great blessing for me to be part of that. And I learned so much. And it was a very important part of who I am, and so I'm very grateful for everything I learned. And so I didn't really have a sense of loss. It was time for me to graduate from that. And that's what I've done. And so I still talk about it. I still think about it. And I still have friends that are very involved in the religion. And so yeah, I wouldn't say a sense of loss as much as it was just a great blessing in my life. It was a step. It was a chapter in my life I always look on fondly, and I feel like I learned so much, and now I'm taking all that experience and all that I've learned with me now into my next chapter of my life. So it's kind of the same thing as, you mentioned, having a business and transitioning out of a business. Even when you have a failed business, I think you look back at that, and I look back at those opportunities and those times I've had failure, and I look for the lessons I learned, and I appreciate the lessons I learned, and I move forward. Uh, I've always looked at failure as temporary. Things are going to happen. You're going to have good times. You're going to have bad times, but it's important to remind yourself that that is temporary, and you can keep going and keep moving forward. And like I said, take the lessons you've learned and move on. So, so I kind of feel the same way about the religion. Absolutely.
All right, all right. So, Chris, for the founder listening right now who is wearing the armor, telling their spouse or their investors that everything is great, while secretly they are, terrified of payroll coming up next week. So, what's the one honest conversation they really need to have today?
Well, Ezekiel, we've all been there. We've all stayed up worrying about payroll. We've all stayed up worrying about paying the bills, cash. We all have had that struggle. And so for the founder or the business owner that is in that right now, just remember that it's just temporary. You don't quit. You keep going. And the reason why you're an entrepreneur, and the reason why you're the owner and the founder, is because you have something different that some people don't have. And part of what you have is that you have the ability to solve problems. You have the ability to push forward. And it's up to you to keep your chin up, and push ahead and make it happen. Now, there's the pep talk. And the reality of it is that you need to surround yourself. You need to find people who you can lean on when times are tough. They may not have the solution to your problem. They may not be writing you a check to cover payroll, but just the fact that you're with a group of people that have experienced what you're experiencing, that it resonates with, helps give you confidence and maybe gives you some ideas on how to overcome. And so, my message to anyone that's in that space right now is, you're not alone. You're not the only one doing this. We've all been there, and and you're not the last one that's going to have that problem. If you listen, you can listen to podcasts all over the place. I had a guest on my podcast a few weeks ago who built a very successful business, had you know, very, very successful business. And he still had moments where he worried about payroll and worried about those things.
Mm.
So, no matter how big your business is, you're going to have the same challenges. No matter how many zeros you add to the bottom line, you're still going to have the same problems. They're just bigger. I mean, so no matter who you talk to in the business world and no matter who you talk to who are entrepreneurs, they're all having the same challenges and they're all experiencing it. So my advice is first of all, keep your chin up and push through. Don't quit. There's no quitting allowed. And secondly, go find other people that are doing what you're doing, uh, and you won't feel alone while you're doing it. You won't feel alone.
Okay, all right. So, Chris, for you, after nearly 40 years of battles, scars, broken companies, and finished lines, I'd like to know right now, what does being successful truly mean to you?
What does being successful mean to me? Well, right now in this point in my life, I my health, my family, having them around, having them close to me, having my spouse, that's being able to spend time with them, being able to provide for them is a level of success. I enjoy helping other people, and in my career now, where I'm a business coach, I work with business owners one on one. I've worked with my clients through the peer groups, through the Founders Exchange. I'm doing my podcast, sharing that message, very similar to what you're doing, is sharing a message to other founders and entrepreneurs who might need to hear something at some day at some time. And so for me, success is getting that message out. And if I can help entrepreneurs, if I can help founders, if I can help them feel good about what they're doing and help them increase their level of success, whatever that means to them, then that's where my success comes from. I've learned long ago that if you do what you absolutely love to do and work hard at it, you don't have to worry about money. And so where I'm at today, it's I'm really out there trying to help as many entrepreneurs and business owners as I can. And if I can do that through the podcast, through one-on-one coaching, through Founders Exchange, then and I can hear those stories about how I helped others, then that's what success is for me right now. I'm not I like to keep balance in my life. I use work as a tool to help me provide for my family and provide for my spouse and I and help us enjoy life. I don't live to work. I work to live. There's a big difference.
Mm.
And so for me, that's important, having balance. I would have to say over the years, through all the businesses and through all the successes and through all the failures, I've always been able to provide for my family and provide for myself. And I've enjoyed life along the way. I never found myself lost in work and then realizing that I had let myself go or let my family go. I've always been really good at balancing that. And so I encourage people, I work with others, I help them find that balance so they can enjoy life along the way and don't wait till the end. Don't think that someday you're going to have some big exit or some big moment where then you can enjoy life. Because that's a very small percentage of people that actually get to that point. So I think it's important to enjoy it along the way. So success for me is that the ability to continue enjoying life along the way and to help others
Mm.
so that they can also enjoy life along the way. That's important to me.
Mm. All right, that is indeed an amazing response, Chris, and thank you very much for sharing it with us. So, lastly, for our listeners who want to join the founders exchange or listen to your podcast or just, connect with you or follow you to continue this conversation? So where is the best place for them to go, Chris?
The best thing to do is go to the website, bootstrapsandbattlescars.com. There you'll be able to see the podcast and you'll be able to reach out to me directly. My contact information will be on that website. And so for now, that's going to be the easiest way. I'm also on LinkedIn, and that's also a great platform to reach out to me. I'm very active there. So if you send me a message, I'll respond promptly. So bootstrapsandbattlescars.com and my LinkedIn are great places to reach me. I'd love to help any way I can.
All right, all right. Chris, it's been a really interesting conversation with you, and I am indeed very excited to have you on the show today.
Well, good. I appreciate it, Ezekiel. I have a lot of fun. I always like talking about these things, and boy, you had some really great questions and you had some really great insights. So thank you for that.